Welcome to Behind the Glass Mixing Live Worship. My name is David Glenn, and I've been blessed to mix multiple multi-platinum records from artists like Redimidos, Dr. Toomey, Blanca, Jeremy Rosado, and many more. I'm pumped to bring you this exclusive behind-the-scenes course for free right here on YouTube. In this series, we're diving deep into mixing live worship from the raw tracks to a polished, powerful mix that translates well in churches, streaming platforms, and beyond. All of the videos from the course will be made available here on the channel, and then if you want to get your hands on the Multitracks to follow along, my exact mix template available for most modern DAWs, my custom drum samples, multiple more mix breakdowns like the one you're about to watch, and on and on. I'll post a link in the description where you can get instant access to all of that, as well as some free guides to help steer you in the right direction with your mixing journey. Lastly, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video in this free series. With that, let's dive in and start mixing. All right, we're here in Pro Tools and we've got my mix template loaded up. All the folders are collapsed so we can stay focused at one thing at a time, but I promise everything is there and we're gonna get to all of it. But quick recap, we analyzed the original live stream session. We took a listen, we broke apart the files, we exported them into a folder, and then we took that folder, we ran it through Stereo Monoizer, we analyzed the files to see were there any non-stereo files that were converted to stereo. We converted those to mono. And then the second option in Stereo Monoizer, we tick this box for normalize gain to minus 18 dB full scale. Again, that's peak-based normalization, and that's a ton of headroom. You do not need anywhere near that much headroom. And in fact, you're going to see I'm going to pull those files back up, but there's a method to the madness, and I'm going to explain it. There's another thing that we did in Stereo Monoizers. I chose this option to overwrite the files, but when I did it, I also created a backup originally when I did this session. And so what that did, let's come over here to the folder. We're going to go in. Remember our CFC Nampa Come Alive client files at 77 BPM. We're going to open that up. Inside of this folder, I've got a backup. Stereo Monoizer created a source files folder. These are untouched original files that we exported from the live stream session. And why is that important? The saying goes, if you have one, you have none. If you have two, you have one. If you have three, you have two, and so on. And so it's so important to create a backup of our backup of our backup to make sure that if we ever need to revert to the original, or we lose something, or what have you, it's also important to make sure you keep a backup in a separate place. And so I have an account with Backblaze I use for my computer backup every night. All my hard drives get backed up, and so I offload, and every night I have an external drive. Actually, I have several of them, 4 connected on my mobile rig, more when I'm at my studio at home, but those all back up to the cloud. And so I've got a copy off-site. God forbid anything were to ever happen, I would be able to get back those files, and my sessions, everything would be backed up every single night. So this Stereo Monoizer source file, nice to have, creates a backup. So I have the original zip sent to me from the client. I have the opened folder with the files. Then I have the Stereo Monoizer version. And then I have so we're looking at 4-5 different copies by the time that my Backblaze backs it up. And so we're more than safe. But this is a quick run through on that. I cannot stress it enough. You lose one session from a label that paid you thousands of dollars to do something, you got to go back and redo it. I still remember my man Joey Fernandez, one of my best friends, Grammy Award winning mastering engineer, really just all around music mind. He's a recording engineer, mixer, but specializes in mastering nowadays. I think it was Jennifer Hudson. They did a project for her, and the studio they recorded it in flooded, including the hard drives, no backups. And one of the top label execs, it was like, sucks for you. Like, you got to go back and redo the whole thing. So they went and they had to re-record an entire album. Talk about, anyways. So is it important? Yes, it's incredibly important to back up, and save things, and especially to make sure you have one offsite. Okay, we beat that to death, so now we're moving on. We got the files here. Let's drag them into the template. There's a couple ways you can do that in Pro Tools. You can come up here and go File, Import Audio. You can go and find that folder, select all your files, and do it that way. You could Command-Shift-I and open that same dialog. Or we can come over here to our folder, and we just drag them into our tracks bin there. And now everything's going to come in. One quick note, if you're not on Pro Tools, there is one thing in this entire course that I can think of that is specific to Pro Tools, and it's the fact that I do use Heat. So quick rabbit trail, but I activate Heat. That's default in my sessions. Heat is, what's his name? created Crane Song, passed away recently, man. Rest in peace. I forget his name. I'm going to look that up, and we'll give him the credit that he's due. But basically, if you come over here to the mix window, which I never use in Pro Tools, and you go to the top right here, as long as it's shown, you'll see heat, and you've got tape and console emulation. I don't remember what the default is. I just leave it there. It's rare that I'll even come over here and mess with this, but you can shape the overall mix, and I think tone, right gets brighter, left gets duller. You can kind of fine-tune the heat settings there, but the only other settings you get is, do you set heat pre, or do you bypass it on certain tracks? Some people will bypass it on vocals or certain instruments. They don't want that saturation, but it's not a mind-blowing sound difference on each individual track. So if you go to like your kick or your tom or your vocal and you turn it off or on, you'll hear a difference, but it's not mind-blowing compared to if you turn it off on the entire session. You'll feel a difference. And so that's a kind of a hidden thing. But I, again, never use the mix window, but just want to make sure that anyone who's not on Pro Tools, that's one thing. What do you do to get that? I mean, you could use the Waves NLS, I think it's called. I use, in addition to Heat, I use Steven Slate Digital's VMR, Virtual Mix Rack. And so we're going to have VCC and whatever they call it, Virtual Mix Bus as well, VMB. You could throw on the Studer from UA. You could throw on the Kramer from Waves. Whatever tape emulation, same kind of thing, except I think Heat is just, it's amazing. Anyways, moving on, rabbit trail over. Next up, we've got the files in. They are alphabetical. We're going to go ahead and drag what I would call some of the most important ones, the drums and bass. We're going to get the crowd mics as well, because the drums are in there. So we're going to do our drum phase alignment. It's important to make sure we include the crowd mics in our drum timing correction, which will be the next video. These are the ones we're looking at first. Remember, we set with Stereo Monoizer, we talked about that, to minus 18 dB full scale peak. So all these tracks are set to tons of headroom, right? We have a lot of space to go up. We can go up. And so the first thing that I do with my drums, because drums are transient driven tracks, they're transient heavy, not a lot of sustain, right, on most drums compared to a synth pad or a keys or multiple guitar tracks. Drums need to come up quite a bit. So the very first move that I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab all of the drums, even the overheads, and you know what, we'll do it to the crowd mics as well, and we're going to go up 10 dB. And then what I'm going to do, we're going to come out here, I'm going to hit play, and let's just kind of see, you know, it's bothering me, this snare up thing. Let's go snare top. Whoop. There's already a track in my template called snare top. So now in Pro Tools, a little trick is you just add a space at the end of it, and it'll accept that. So we're going to go snare bottom, same thing. We got to add a space. So there we go. We'll leave the labeling rack 06, whatever. We'll leave all that. So now in these files, there were some that we took that had no information or just hiss. They were dead channels on the console. And so it looks like SPD, this guy here, we're going to get rid of. Nothing on that one. I'm going to increase the GUI, the waveform view here, by holding Option, and then you can use your scroll wheel on Mac and zoom in or out on this. I use a trackpad, so I go with 2 fingers to the right or the left to increase or decrease that. Or you could come up here and click the little dialogue and make things bigger or smaller. So that does not have anything to do with the signal. This is simply a graphical view for you guys to be able to see the waveforms better. So we're going to delete these couple of tracks. I'm sure there's more. Looks like this yellow, whatever this mic was. We're going to pull that one back. It looks like another one. We got headset. Anything else? We've got EG, L, and R. Make sure, yep, there's nothing on those tracks either. There we go. We got rid of our dead tracks. So now we come back up and let's see what we have by increasing the gain on our drums and the crowd. We're going to go ahead and pan crowd L and R. We'll trust their assignments here. They labeled it crowd 1.01 L and R. Okay, I want to check the overheads. Yep, and that overhead right, we've got it set to drummer's perspective. I love drummer's perspective. I mix everything drummer's perspective, and then at the end of the mix, if the client wants audience perspective, which is common for a live record. I still like drummer's perspective, but I'm in the minority when it comes to a live record. They often want the floor tom on the left for a right-handed drummer and the hat on the right. They want it what the audience is seeing. It's kind of weird if you're thinking you're in the audience and you're looking at a drummer, his hat would be on the right. But for me, it just, I'm like, I can't do it. I can't pan a hi-hat to the right, play air drums while I'm mixing. It just gives me the EBGBs. So I'm weird, but you don't have to be. You can do whatever you want. For me, I'm going to mix it, drummer's perspective, and let's check and see, is it actually drummer's perspective? We can see there's floor tom out here in this section. So we can just listen in. Feels off to the right. It's feeling more kind of center, but that just may be a lack of stereo spread on the overheads. Let's check out the rack tom. Yeah, so the rack tom definitely came in on that left side. Did we get a hat mic? We did not. No big deal, but let's go find a section. Yeah, you can hear the hat is clearly on the left. Cool. So left and right is drummer's perspective. So now we know. And then let's come over here. Let's check the crowds. And now we're going to play the whole track. And I'm going to quickly, let's just throw these out. So we got acoustic. Let's get the singers. Well, we got another empty track here. Black mic. Let's get rid of that. And then what else are we looking at here? So we got my man, Pastor Ryan. I'm going to pull him up. And so we have Amy, Andrew, Ryan, Brianna. And where's Sapphire? This is Pastor Ryan's wife here. So we're going to pull them down for now to the bottom. I know that Sapphire leads this song, so we'll go ahead and...
Let's celebrate the victory of Jesus Christ today. Come on, we come alive in Him.
Okay, so we'll have that mic up. And then let's just go ahead and pan some of these. We got tracks, we got loops, we got keys. Pan these where they go. We can always change this later, but let's get a little bit of a kind of a rough mix to hear things with. Here's that synth bass. I'm going to pull that up underneath the bass. Acoustic I threw right. Electric. What is this? Do we have stereo electrics? We do. So we'll throw those left and right for now. Often I know you hear Luke from Production Online from Bethel talk about stereo guitars. It's the way to go. It's the way to go when you have professional quality guitars that are going into great effects, well balanced, but I'm almost always getting rid of the stereo guitar, using the main sound of the guitar, and then creating the stereo effects in Pro Tools in the mix so that I get true stereo delays, true stereo reverb. Often I'm getting lackluster quality guitars, and so that's something to keep an eye on. It's don't always follow necessarily, you want stereo guitars. If they're well recorded, if they're great guitarists, if they have great sounding effects, then you can rock the stereo effects. But just something to keep in mind there. Let's go through these super quickly. We got keys left, right. I'm almost always collapsing things to mono. Otherwise, you just get big mono. If everything's stereo, everything's panned left and right, and it equals this larger sound maybe in solo, you kind of get this big mono mix where it's super symmetrical, and symmetrical is not interesting. It's not creative. It's not, so I digress. We'll come back to talking about that when we get into it. What is this, a mono electric guitar? Sure, we'll pan it right. And I think everything is pretty much pan. Let's come out here and listen. Let's come out to the snare.
Woo! Come on. Out of darkness, you brought for the veil and made a way for me. Now I'm standing with the risen King, staring at an empty tomb. 'Cause Jesus, you're the living proof. There's nothing that you...
Cool. So I'm just getting a balance. Want to see how can we make this sound good just from the basic balances. I like to get the snare top going first, and then now what I'll do is we'll click, and this is why I don't use the mixer window. I'll use the faders here, or I'll click what I just did there and it opens up a fader for that particular track, and I'll rock that. So now I'm going to get that snare bottom blended in a little bit.
Woo! Come on. Out of darkness, you brought victory. For the
And where I really want to hear the snare bottom is on the ghost notes. So I want to hear a little more. Yeah, so somewhere in there is cool for now. We're obviously going to change all that once we get samples in the picture. So there we go. We got a quick little rough mix. And then now we're going to go to town here. Now, I'm going to do phase alignment. I'm going to use Sound Radix Auto Align. And what this is going to do is it's going to, just like what you want to do in recording, you want to get the best phase relationship between the drums that you possibly can. Some of you guys are rolling your eyes. You already know all this. But for those of you who don't, when you mic up a drum kit, you've got, say, your overheads. You want an equal distance from your kick and snare. And so you can get a balance between the two, but you also get a better phase relationship, more punchy snare drum. Your snare's not canceling out. We'll maybe save, phase and all of that for another lesson. Maybe it's a YouTube video I point you guys to or something that explains it really well with a visual example. But basically, we want the best phase relationship, and more times than not, even if you do the work and you take a tape measure and you're measuring left overhead to the center of the snare, right overhead to the center of the snare, I actually like to go just off to the right of the snare so that you get that space in between the kick and the snare, equal between the two. Even when you put that time in, Sound Radix Auto Align or M Auto Align from Melda, I think it is Productions, they've got a cheaper version of the program. Almost always you're getting an improvement when you do phase alignment in the box. Now you can pull this plugin up and it's a quick 30 seconds and you got phase aligned drums, or you can do manual phase alignment like we used to do in the old days. I'm only 40, but I was around when we were sliding tracks, samples, 5-10 samples at a time, trying to find the best phase relationship between different mics. That's painstaking, time consuming, and we don't have time for that here. But if you don't want to purchase those, there is an option. But if you value your time, I highly recommend investing into Sound Radix Auto Align, which is what we're going to use. And we're actually type auto, go to Auto Align 2. And we're going to use the second generation of the plugin, and it does it truly automatically. You don't have to route anything. There's one option that we're going to double check here after we run it. Now, here's a quick point about auto aligning drums. When we do our drum timing correction in the next video, when I show you how I do that, I'm going to include the crowd mics. Solo those out real quick, right? Drums are heavily in the crowd mics, as they should be. Well, with the drum timing correction, when we go to line up the kicks and snares and stop kick and snare from flamming and, tighten the drums to the grid, we want to include the crowd mics. They're part of the drum recording. However, the phase alignment, I will typically run the phase alignment with the crowd mics, but then I will usually turn it off. I listen, does it improve it, or do they get smaller? Because what's happening is they often will align them and the room sound will get smaller. Same with a rock drum room or a pop rock, country drums, live drums in a big studio. You got the drum room mics. I'll often run the auto align, but then bypass it and compare the sound between them to make sure that the kit's not getting smaller, because you often want sometimes I'm even taking the crowd mics and sliding them further back in time to make it sound larger for the space to get more decay on the back end of the transient. So that'll make more sense here in a second. Let's go ahead and run it. We've got auto align on all these tracks. We're going to go out and find us a section where we got quite a bit happening, and then we're going to hit play and hit align. I think we gave it enough time. I think it needs 30 seconds to do its thing. And so it's aligning, creating magic behind the scenes. And when that's done, we're going to come over here and you can see it used the right overhead as the target. I want to change that. We're going to right click on snare and we're going to go to set as key time. And so now the snare top is what's going to be the focal point for everything to be in time. You can try this different ways. With auto align 1, I would set and do I would align the left overhead and the right overhead to the snare top, commit those, and then align everything else to the newly aligned overheads. Obviously, snare bottom would get aligned to snare top as well. And then the kick in would go to the overheads. The kick out would align to the kick in. There's a whole method to that madness that will maybe point you to a video. If you have auto align 1, I'll make sure that you get that. That's in my drum sample, what is it called? The drum replacement masterclass that I sell, and it might only be in the bundle at this moment in time. So we'll see. Anyone who hasn't seen, if you have auto align 1, I'm going to hook you up. Reach out to me, and I'll send you that masterclass so that you can learn auto align 1 if you don't have 2. That being said, we have 2, and in this video, snare top is now our key. So we're going to take a listen. Don't ever just trust that this improved it. We want to solo the drums out. I want to crank the volume. I've got my sub pack at max level, and I'm going to really just hone in on and listen with auto align 2 on and what it just recommended, the settings that it sent us here. And then I'm going to bypass it, and we're going to listen to the drums. How does the phase relationship change? Do we get the stereo image? Does it even out? Does a snare stay down the middle, the kick down the middle, or do they go out wide? Do we get a wider image? Just some things to listen to. Here, let's hit play, and we're going to leave it on and then turn it off. Okay, so that kick and that snare, they fall apart without auto align. It's given us the most low end, the best punch, the best response from our snare top and the kick drums, the 2 of them together with auto align on. Absolutely, we're gaining width, lots of great things happening here. Now, here's what I want to do is I want to listen with all the drums auto align, because now I've made so I'm going to keep the auto align. But now I want to listen with and without the auto align on the crowd mics and see how does the sound change from this. Okay, so there's a couple things I'm hearing. One, the low end relationship is better with auto align on. It's subtle, but it's better with it on. However, things get wider and I think better with it off. And so I know that in the mix, I'm not going to rock the low end from the crowd mics. I know that I'm going to be dominant with the kick and the bass. That's what's going to live down low. And then in some sections, maybe the pad or a synth bass may dominate the low end. But for the most part, the crowds, those are getting sent to a crowds bus, and then I'm going to filter out the bottom end, get a much cleaner low end in the subs from just featuring the kick and the bass, and then using 100, 150 hertz and above, usually from the crowd mics, mostly for the mid-range, and then I'm EQing the crap out of it usually, so we'll see that in another video. But I'm making that judgment. We're going to get rid of the auto align in the crowd mics, and we're only going to keep it here. So now what do? Well, we commit it. And so now this process, the auto align, we have a backup because we have our stereo monoizer source files. If we ever needed to, we could. But I'm going to select those. I'm going to right click. I'm going to hit commit. And then I'm going to choose the option for volume and mute, consolidate the clips. That's fine. Sans group assignments, it doesn't really matter. We haven't done anything yet. And then what I would do is I would say hide and make inactive. So it's going to hide these source tracks, make them inactive. And I'm going to do it offline. Hit OK. It's going to process it, but we've already done that. So there's the process for drum phase alignment. Hopefully you can hear that. Go back, play it. Of course, play with the files yourself. Those are included with the course, so you can go and have a listen and see how is that changing the kick relationship between the kick and the kick out. I mean, let's go listen to that and see if it'll... Let's crank them. Out of phase. In phase. There we go. So it's a beautiful thing, auto align. Play with that, get a feel for it so you can really hear what's going on. And then with those committed files, we're moving into the next video where we're going to do our drum timing correction, and I will see you guys there.